author Stephanie Covington Armstrong on. Stephanie, thank you for coming. It's so nice to have you. And not only have you been a friend of Dina's for quite a while, I've heard a lot about you, amazing stuff, but you also travel and speak about bulimia, correct? And you're the author of a book called Not All Black Girls Know How to Eat, which is your own memoir. Yeah. So we are really excited to have you on today because both of us have heard your speeches and just feel like there's a lot of people in our worlds that might benefit from hearing all the wisdom that you have to share and your story. So thank you so much for coming on. Really,
yeah, thank you for having me. I speak on eating disorders, but I also speak on childhood trauma, food insecurity, self-esteem, kind of like how you can go from, having a lot of childhood trauma to recognizing, dealing, and getting to the next stage. And when I speak, especially at colleges, my whole goal is to let young people know that they don't have to live with trauma trapped inside their body, that they can do the work and thrive. And a lot of people are like first generation, and just a lot of people aren't aware that it's okay to kind of leave your family or your history behind you or push it to the side while you deal with your own self. And so it's a lot, when you're 18, 19, 20, you don't have give yourself permission to kind of separate from the people who have helped incur the trauma.
Right. Because you're trusting them. Yourself.
Yes.
You look up to them, right? So
and you also go with where you're comfortable. And so if I grew up in a household where obesity was a big thing, and I always thought I was the thinnest. Sometimes I would, go from 185 to 205 to whatever it was, but I always felt like, oh, I was the thinnest. But I didn't realize that I kind of had body dysmorphia and all of that from childhood. And also, when I was listening to one of your speeches on YouTube at a college you recently spoke at, about the trauma, I had resonated with the food insecurity, the trauma, the eating, the dysfunction with food. So do you feel like it's worse now with social media, or do you feel like it's always been this bad and we're just knowing about it more?
I kind of feel both, right? Because if you think about like the anemia websites and which is anorexia, bulimia, and they're very like pro, right? Like, ooh, how to stay in your disease, how to, there are.
What does that mean?
Wait, you mean there's pro websites to help girls stay anorexic?
Yeah.
What is?
And bulimic, and like don't eat today, like you can do it, like that kind of thing, right? So when I was growing up, we didn't have that. Right? We didn't have access to social media encouraging us to stay in the disease. Now, at the same time, on the flip side of it, we also didn't have the help that you can get on social media, right? Like the body positivity, the inclusivity, the, like there's so many people doing trauma work, right, to heal their trauma. And it's just accessible at your, you can go on social media, you can go on websites. And so there's a lot more aid and help and tools available than when I had to seek them out, go find them. And then, COVID changed the game on everything. Like everything went remote. So recovery went remote in a huge way. So now a lot of the recovery tools that people ignored are now more normal, right? It's normal to have like online therapy. It's normal to, go to online recovery meetings. It's like, there's a lot of things that were probably like not used to their fullest before the pandemic that now are just like the go-tos. So, yeah.
That makes sense. And then so when you were growing up though, let's just, so people have a little bit of understanding of you too. I mean, can you take us back there for a moment and tell us like, when did you first recognize that you had, a problematic relationship with food, or what sort of signs should people look for? Or?
I mean, I was young when So now here's the thing to understand. Everyone's journey, story, experience is different.
Yeah.
Right? So if I tell you mine, it's not necessarily going to be commiserate, like
That's fair.
same as
Yeah.
someone else, right? So
Yeah.
I just want to say that. So because like a lot of times people will ask me to do things and I'm like, I'm not like the Black girl, like I'm not the only Black girl with an eating disorder, and I'm not the, you know, and they're all different. So
Well,
not
I
that you
don't
do.
think it even applies just to race either,
Oh,
right?
I know. I
yeah.
absolutely. But you know, when my book came out, I became like the Black girl with an eating disorder. Like I became like whenever organizations needed more diversity, they would call me and be like, "Oh, Stephanie, can you help us do that? Or can you do that?"
Isn't
Because
that
I wrote
fun?
my book, and once I wrote my so much fun, and then once I wrote my book, I was able to, you know, suddenly be on a lot of people's radar.
Yeah.
So, what was it like? So I grew up in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, under the poverty line. I grew up with a very independent. My mother was a Black, how do I describe her? Bisexual, you know, communist, atheist, all that is. So I grew up in a very non-traditional way. So that was already kind of strange. I had a very, I didn't really know I didn't know my father, but his sister was like my aunt. I didn't know that that was my aunt, that we were blood relatives until I was 12. So for me, even when I was young, food played a big part in my life because we had a lot of food insecurity. And I spent time in the foster care system. And because of that, you know, my mother was very conscious of making sure we ate, but she didn't know how to cook. I also had like a Black mother who couldn't cook, who didn't believe in
Listen,
God.
I had a white mother that couldn't cook, so.
Yeah,
sorry.
but we don't expect white women to cook. I'm just going to tell you.
Well, there is
Totally.
that.
You expect
TV
Black women
dinners,
to be
TV
able to
dinners
Yeah,
every
do you
night.
see everyone
Oh.
talking about like, did you season that chicken? I mean, you know, like
Yes.
Yes.
I'm
that
sorry,
is
but you guys
hilarious.
have like not the best reputation,
Girl, I'm here to tell
right?
you you're correct.
Totally.
Yeah.
But Black women, you know, we rule
Yeah.
like we're like Greek women or Italian, like we're ethnic women, and food is a real thing, right? Like
Right.
we rule the kitchen, we love to cook, and I didn't have that. I had a mother who bordered on probably anorexia because she was an intense smoker. So she smoked every day, packs a day, didn't really care about food. So for her, it was like a means, you know, it was like just a means to an end, not like a pleasure thing. So when so she was very strong and no one argued with her. No one in my entire family, uncles, like nobody. Her mother, like everyone was slightly afraid of my mother. But growing up, she couldn't cook. So one of the things that occurred is my two older sisters would just gobble down their food and be like, okay, free to go. I was like, this tastes terrible. I'm not eating it. And I remember I was like 4, 5, 6, 7, like I was young. And so every night for years, I would fall asleep with my head on the table because it was like, you're not getting up until you finish your food. So like my head on the plate in the smashed peas or lima beans or whatever, and the badly cooked chicken. And, you know, so it was the only time as a youth that I could exert any power or control over my life.
I see.
So I know that somehow like that got implanted really young.
Does
And
it
then
upset her? Did she get upset with you when you wouldn't
oh,
eat?
we fought. Like it was the only time, like she couldn't force me. Like we had to
Yeah.
shove food down my, she
Right.
couldn't force, like she got her way in every way. Like she was in control.
Gotcha.
Not
And,
in
and
that
she was
way.
a single parent, and I was not having it when it came. And my sisters would kick me under the table and be like, "Stop it, just eat." And I was like, "No, like I'm not." So I was very stubborn from a young age. I didn't even realize that's what it was. It was just it didn't make sense to me. And in my young brain, I was like, it doesn't taste good. I'm not going to eat it. Like, I don't understand why we're having this like, why is it my problem? Just give me food that's edible.
Yeah.
So then when I was 12, I experienced, you know, just so I can give you a trigger warning, like trauma. I was raped by my uncle, and that changed everything. I remember like physically feeling out of my body. Like I'm like separating from the rest of you, because it's like watching everybody. It's almost like watching through a lens and watching everyone continue on with their lives, but the trauma you just experienced like separates you.
It's like an out of body experience.
Yeah. So
That's
I
been in
so
my
I started. I never felt like the same level of closeness to my family, and that I did before that.
Oh, wow.
Now I still
I'm
felt
sorry.
close to my sisters, but I
Yeah.
and I felt like I couldn't tell my mother, not because she wouldn't trust me, or I thought she would kill my uncle. And then like my uncle was the golden child, and I thought, oh, my mother will kill him. I'll be an orphan, and like what's going to happen to my sisters? My whole family's going to hate me. So it was more like that was the reason for my silence. And then as I got older, I was living on my own. I was about 18, 19. And my body started changing. You know, I started to, everything happened slowly for me. You know, I got the female situation when I was almost 16. Like everything happened late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I grew late. I don't think I even had breasts till I was like 15. Like I looked like a little boy until 15 or 16. Probably closer to 17. Who am I? You know, so when my body started changing, and I also like had my own apartment, so I had access. You know, I made sure I had food. Like I lived alone, so no, like my food was. You know, if I put something in the refrigerator, it was there the next day. Like there were a lot of little things that I didn't realize. Like, whoa, I'm needing this kind of control. And then I started yo-yo dieting and running and
Did anyone, I'm sorry. Did anyone ever tell you though, like that you were heavy, you were too thin, like for you to start focusing on the weight and the control, I understand. But also, like, did you want to emulate your mom? Did you like the way she looked? Did you like her body? You were?
No, okay. So I was never overweight. It was only in here. I was like, I had body dysmorphia. I was never overweight. So I mean, I may have gone, you know, from a 2 to a 4. Like, I don't know. Like it was like honestly, it had so little to do with the external experience and more to do with like the anxiety, needing food to kind of quell the anxiety. And I started binge eating. And then I discovered bulimia. And then I was off to the races. Like I was like, oh, I can eat everything and throw up. Well, it eventually turns on you. And the thing that works so beautifully suddenly becomes like a trap. Right. Yeah. It's like that first high. I'm not a drug person, but I had a sister who had a drug problem. So I do know that like the first high can lead to like chasing that.
Yes.
And that's very similar to how bulimia was. It's funny because about 2 months ago, I was eating the donut and I was like, oh my God, this tastes a little raw. It's weird. And I never had food poisoning in my entire life. Like I always say I have a stomach like a steel drum. Wow. It's like never. And I suddenly started sweating and everyone was like, are you okay? And I was like, I don't feel good. And I like projectile.
Oh, wow.
It was all good. But I remember afterwards going, oh, that is so painful and violent. Oh, is that what people think bulimia is?
Yeah. Bulimia is not that painful like that.
No, it was actually frighteningly soothing and insane. Like I was just insane. But to have food poisoning is a whole nother, that's bulimia to me was like a 3 or 4. That was like a 12 on the scale.
Yeah.
I was
but it's still the painful stomach contractions and the purging and the right. I mean, it doesn't sound fun.
No, it wrecks your teeth. It wrecks your skin. It wrecks your life. You can't focus on anything else. It's like it is headaches. Like being a drug addict because all you want is to chase that. All you want is to like binge and just shove down all your feelings with food, throw it up, then feelings come again, shove them down. I mean, it was like I was like a hamster on a wheel. It was very it took control of my life. It like I would not have lived if I had continued.
See,
Because
when
you're not
I
getting
was,
any nutrients. Sorry. Yeah, right? Because you're
It's
losing
it's
them all too
it's
quickly.
more than
It's
that. Like
not
you can have a heart attack. Like it wears your body down in a lot of ways.
like, I don't think a lot of young people think of this, because when I was growing up, laxatives were a big thing. And especially the chocolate laxatives. And there was this girl in my high school that she got super thin, and we were all like, how'd you get thin? And she was like, I took laxatives and somehow it ruined my system, and now my body just doesn't hold food. And we're like, oh my God, you're so lucky. Being so stupid. We're like, and we all wanted, so there was points where we were taking like 20 laxatives a day.
I've been
not
through
fun.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went through that. I cannot even smell a laxative today.
Oh yeah. Oh, that filmy, that like the coated. Yes.
Yeah,
It's tough.
No.
Did your mom notice your
No,
issue
because
with food?
I left home at 17.
Oh, okay. And so then, did anyone around you notice your issues?
Well,
with
at a
the
point,
food?
I was living in LA. I kept going back and forth. I was waiting tables, and one of the waiters was like, "Can you stop going in the bathroom and throwing up?" Like,
they knew.
like it's making us have to watch your tables. So I promptly quit that job.
Wow.
I moved in with my sister to help with her kids, and my niece, who was like 10, or said, "Oh, Auntie Stephanie throws up every day." So my sister asked me, and I was like, and instead of coming clean about the bulimia, because a lot of people don't know a lot about bulimia, I decided that I should expose that I was raped. Like, it was less of a,
Oh, yeah.
like, that was easier to talk about that than to try and, than to seek help for the bulimia. I wasn't ready.
No, I get that because of
too.
the totally, and because I dabbled in a little bit of everything because of the obsession, but I had food insecurity, and it's so strange that I had food insecurity, but everyone in my family was obese. It's like, so food was more important than power, than the electric or the gas or whatever it may be. But ours was more of a portion control thing where we just never learned to eat. And then it was growing up in Orange County, a thing about looks and a thing about, so there was a time where I did throw up, and I didn't tell anyone for a long period of time, and I would say that didn't help my neck issues and my stomach issues, and you don't really realize the damage it is causing until you're done doing it, right? Because your digestive and everything has to sort of catch up. And so I think when young people don't realize when they're looking into it that it really is damaging of your system. Like for you, I'm skipping along, but when you started to get help or whatever, what were the after effects that happened? Like, what was the bad things after having anorexia for so long? How did it affect your health?
So anorexia, bulimia, compulsive overeating, I had all of it. Orthorexia, the obsession with healthy eating. Like I went through the, oh my God, I can't eat that. No flour, no gluten, no bit. Like I went through that.
Yeah.
What now they call it a wellness journey, but it was insanity. And so afterwards, yes, I had health issues, many. It was hard to go to the bathroom. I became a vegan for 6 years and had more health issues because my body could not break, because of all the years of bulimia and anorexia,
Yes.
my body couldn't break down beans and soy. I have a soy
I'm going
allergy.
through that. Yeah.
It's a lot of drastic changes too for your body from one way of eating to the next, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
Do you have a good relationship with food now?
Oh my God, yes. I'm a complete foodie. It's so weird. I'm a foodie. I bake.
Really? That's amazing.
Fine.
I eat whatever I want. Okay, so this is weird. So I've started dating, and there are so many red flags in the dating thing, but for me, let's just eat healthy. I only cheat. I'm like, these are men. I'm like, oh my God, what's happening? That everyone's like, oh, we get along really well if you're into clean eating. No, I'm eating.
You're still
Yes.
waiting for that person in your life that'll just have some fun food with you, right?
Oh
Just-
yeah. I
ah,
mean, I've been married.
yeah.
Yeah. But yes, I mean, I'm just saying, like, it's so weird how there's so much pressure even as you get older to like be a size 0. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I
Especially in
really
LA.
believe you get your face or your ass. You're not getting both of them.
Yeah. Totally.
That's
Well,
funny.
and also the food things, because I'm someone who has allergies and things like that, and it can be very frustrating for me when people comment all the time about like, oh, you're not eating this, or oh, you're no fun to eat with, or oh, and then it starts to make me feel pressure when I'm not even giving people pressure. I'm just trying to say, hey, by the way, I can bring my own food, whatever it is. I always try to talk beforehand. I'm always respectful, but it's like, any advice on what to tell people to not make a big deal about your eating? So like, were there things that you did to steer people away from the attention on your food and your eating, or were there?
Well, during the disease, people would always just go, oh my God, you eat whatever you want and you just stay so skinny. Because I was like insane. I was just
Yeah. Uh-huh.
um, and then I went through a period in early recovery where I was afraid of food, like deathly afraid of food. Because once I stopped throwing up, I didn't have like a solution. Not that that was working, because I gained a lot of weight as a bulimic.
Oh, you did.
Yeah, at a point it
Interesting.
stops working.
Huh.
And then like you eat a carrot, you gain weight. Because your body's like, nutrient,
Yeah.
give me that. And so your body doesn't trust you. Which I try and tell people, like in recovery, you're gonna gain weight. Because your body is like, oh, I'm gonna like, wait, it doesn't matter what it is.
Uh-huh.
That makes sense.
So like people are like, oh my God, I just eat salads and I'm gaining so much weight. Yes. And then eventually it levels out.
And
Wow.
so, because of COVID, do you think that young people have gotten more creative in ways to have eating disorders or hiding it, or because they're home all the time, or do you think
It's always been the same. I mean, people
It
have
always is.
always been able to hide an eating disorder. I mean, the other thing is, I mean, I had a sister who was a drug addict, and I was like, oh, that's messy. I don't want that. I don't want that.
I know what that
and
is
so-
too.
And so having, bulimia and anorexia was more like you could hide in plain sight because you look normal, right? Like I look back at my behavior and I'm like, not normal. Like the fact that no one said anything is more disturbing. Because I mean, the difference is like when you do drugs, people can see why your life is falling apart. But when you have an eating disorder, no one can tell, like, why can't you keep a job? Why are you always moving? Why are you always breaking out with people? Like, what's like, there's just so much, like a fear of intimacy, fear of like people getting close. And
Right.
all of those are hallmarks of having an eating disorder. And, in recovery, you also recover your ability to have relationships. And
What do you mean by that?
I mean, you start to be more okay with yourself. Like I had very long-term therapy, and I had recovery, and I had a program that I worked, and I had, I suddenly had a spiritual life that helped me, and I meditated and, journaled and prayed and all these things that were so like, what? Like, like I'm praying, like it's so weird.
Yeah.
It's not weird anymore. But I literally coming from having no tools and no ways of functioning, like nowhere to put all of those emotions and the trauma. And then eventually, getting help, having tools, having people, right, that I could call and be like, oh my God, I'm about to have a binge. And they'd be like, oh, come over and you can sleep on my couch. Like the ability to be honest and open was to take away like secrets.
Yeah.
For
That's
sure.
right.
So, what made you finally get help? The help.
I felt like I was going to die. I was throwing up I was binging and throwing up 10 times. It was my full-time job.
Ooh.
Wow.
My day would be like between going
Yeah.
to the gym, going for runs, making food, eating, throwing up, going to a grocery store, going back, drive-throughs. Like it was like all
Yeah.
day. I was like hip. I was just running.
Wow.
Yeah, it was all about the food.
Wow. And so for parents that are home with children, men and women both, because you know, dads and moms or whatever, is like, what would you say like the first signs would be for them to sort of notice, like if something is going on?
When a kid stops eating,
Mm-hmm.
check, this sounds really gross. Check their closets,
For
because
the
a lot of
bags.
times you'll find bags
Oh
with
boy.
vomit in them. Like,
Mhm.
if they're suddenly never, oh, my stomach hurts. Oh, I don't feel like eating. Like those are big signs.
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly changing how they're eating,
Mhm.
You mean either binging and not caring what they eat, or wanting to just eat healthy?
yes, both.
Okay.
But any major changes,
Mhm.
any
Yeah.
major changes, also you kind of shut down. I think like there's a way to handle it, but if no one ever tells you how to cope with like your trauma, and a lot of times when we have childhood trauma, it can be divorce. There's a test that I always get people to do. It's called the Adverse Childhood Experience Test, the ACEs, and it quantifies childhood trauma. So, emotional, physical, sexual abuse, emotional, physical neglect, a parent who's in prison, a parent who is doing drugs, a parent who's abused. Wait,
I was hoping you'd bring that up because we saw you speak about that too, and it's
Yeah.
like there's a score for it, right? Like if you have
Yeah.
a parent that was in prison, you get a score. If you have a
Right.
parent
There's one
that's
point.
abusive, if you have a, yeah, it's 1 point for each
I think I got 8 on that test.
Okay, I have
trauma.
8. I would say I'm between 7 and 8.
Mm-hmm.
Having a parent who's physically abused,
Right.
drugs in the house, divorce.
Mm-hmm.
I always say like the best thing about the ACEs test is when you look at it and you go like, I have an 8, but my daughter has a 1.
Oh wow.
The
Right.
parents are divorced, and that's the goal. Like every goal is like, oh, how do we help? Like if I fix myself, then I'm not passing on my trauma or assuming, oh, it's okay. Like she'll deal. Kids
Breaking
are,
the cycle.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then, sorry, how do you start healing the trauma that you went through that is affecting the eating disorder? So if somebody doesn't have resources or a parent to turn to, or even friends that they want to open up to, like how do they go then and find the help or to deal with trauma? Is there a book you recommend, or going into?
There are 2 organizations. One is ANAD, the Association of Anorexia and Other Eating Disorders, and it's the oldest eating disorder organization in the world, and I'm on the board. So
Oh wow.
yeah.
Amazing.
So that's one. And then NEDA, the National Eating Disorders Association, .org. So you go on either of those websites and they're nothing but tools. There's also FEAST, which is an acronym. It's for like families of people who are struggling.
Okay.
And so that's
Yeah.
a really good resource. There's all kinds of treatment centers. There's Overeaters Anonymous, which is Food Anonymous. I don't know much about that one, these are all free programs that are all online right now. It's like AA, but for food. I mean, for me, I did a combination of a lot of things, and I stayed in therapy. But I also had a fellowship and a friendship. And so it helped to have people, because one of the things about eating disorders is it's really isolating.
Right.
So when you can shine a light, when you can have, when you can uncloset your eating disorder, you can get help and you can recover. I think it's a lot of work to recover. I'm not gonna lie, like, because by the time you have reached the point where you need help, you have like gone down the rabbit hole. And right.
Because I'm imagining from what you said earlier, you're feeling a lot of shame around it too, right? Because if you're rather talk about being raped than admit that you're going into the bathroom and throwing up, that's like, you'd rather talk about something that you can't control, that you couldn't control,
Absolutely.
right? Shame, there's shame
Like
around it.
anything. Well, it's also control, right?
Right.
I don't want to stop.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
I see. There's
There you
that
go.
too. I was wondering what was going on in your head there. If it was like, were
In my
you
head was
wanting
like,
to stop or were you
I'm not
resisting?
stopping this. Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And see, I can tell you the
Because you
most
get relief.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
and the most fucked up thing in my head was like, God, anorexic girls have so much discipline because I didn't have the ability to not eat. So I was just doing laxatives and throwing up. I think so many of us at some point struggled with eating or whatever, and some of us it didn't go as far as it with others. But I can tell you, when I threw up, I had a friend that I did it with, but one day we just decided, let's not do this anymore. It's sort of stupid, and I'm lucky enough to be able to have walked away. But then I picked up stupid habits like chewing and spitting out, right? And then my therapist was like, that's not healthy either. And I was like, well, it's better than throwing up, and then you sort of go down that line. And now I have a healthier relationship with food. But in my household growing up, I didn't have the luxury of not having certain foods in the house because of everyone's huge appetites, right? So when I moved into this house, I was saying to a friend of mine, wait, did you know if you didn't put certain foods in the house, you weren't going to eat them? And she's like, yeah, dum-dum, that's what you do. And I was like, but I always just thought that I had to put those foods in the house and then be disciplined. And then I was like, so now I just don't put the foods in the house. And yeah, that works for me because I'm alone. But when you're around a bunch of Italians pushing stuff on you, going, eat, 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 and then it's like, oh, come on, you're too thin, you're this, you're that. And then I succumbed. It was the first time in my life I wasn't worried about my weight, and then I gained 60 pounds. And so I'm not saying do it that way either, but now I finally am healing my relationship with food, and that was something I kept very private for a very long time, right? And so it is hard when you're around people. It is isolating because you don't want to eat certain things, and all you're thinking about is how am I going to get this out of my body, because you know a certain time limit that it's going to be harder to throw up with after a certain amount of time. You know that if you drink soda water after, it's easier because of the carbonation. Like, there's all these sort of tricks. Like, if you see your kid drinking more soda water lately, or Cokes, or something with a meal, like a really big Coke, like, sometimes when I see really tiny girls eat stuff, unfortunately, my head goes, oh, yeah, she's definitely going to throw that up. But that's awful to say that for me, but when I was in high school, it wasn't not talked about, but I would think that people only let people hear what they wanted them to, and they were hiding the deeper parts of it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because like for instance, my daughter's like a small human. I'm kind of a small human, so it's not like she got it just, so's her dad. So like in high school, her friends would be like, oh, I want to know what you eat during a day. I'm like, bread, cheese, like cheese. She eats cheese in every meal, like avocado toast, like she eats. And they were like, yeah, we can't eat like you. I mean, she doesn't overeat. That's not her thing, but she eats whatever she wants. She just doesn't have a huge appetite, but there's no like diet food on her plate. Like we don't, one of the things when I work with parents and families, and I always say like, you can like get away from the concept of good food, bad food, because parents think they're helping kids, but what you're doing is you're making your kids anxious when it comes to food, because that's not approved. Like, oh, that's bad food. I can't eat that. I remember I had a kid say to me, it was 12 and they'd lost a soccer game. And I was like, oh, well, let's go get ice cream. And this little kid who was like 4, his sister was went, oh, ice cream's bad. And I was like, okay, crazy.
Let me talk to your mom right now.
Exactly. I was like, sweetie, your kid is walking around saying,
I go those kids. Those kids are fine. My friend's kid would say, oh, we don't eat rice. There's too many carbs in that at 4.
Those are the kids that are going to be like eating it all the time, as soon as they can get their hands on it because they've been deprived of it.
When my kids were young, okay, I probably went the wrong way. Those big old-fashioned red candy machines? I put one in the middle of the living room and filled it with like Skittles and M&Ms. And my daughter and my stepkids were like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. So for dessert, I'd be like, you all can have a quarter.
Oh.
After around 2 or 3 weeks, they were like, no interest. They were like, oh, who cares?
Yes.
Who cares? But their friends would come over and be like crazy people.
Reverse
like,
psychology. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. So so it really like took away the sugar obsession for them.
My dad did that with alcohol. He was smart. He was like, if you're going to drink at home, and at least I know where you're getting it and that you're safe. And then the first 2 times it was good, but then it's like, I don't want to drink and get drunk and my dad's here. Like, this is a smart man. Very smart man.
Well, by the way, that thing has led to long-term alcoholism in people.
Oh.
Yeah, I was going to say that didn't work on
Really?
people in my
People
family.
who grow up drinking with their parents.
Did not.
Oh, shit.
Not because
well,
it's
my
not.
dad never drank with us. He
Yeah.
just let me drink in the house.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Wow.
there's so many different ways, and now people are dealing with it with pot. I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
get high with your kid.
Well, and then during COVID, people probably drank with their kids too,
Mhm.
because their kids are of a certain age, and then people were like having wine at 11, and so I'm sure that didn't help a lot of those issues as well.
well,
'Cause
you
addiction
just have to know if there's like you have the alcoholic gene in your family or not.
Yes.
You know, you just have to be careful. It's like everything else, moderation, care, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, do you still now after how long have you been in recovery?
Almost 30 years.
Wow.
Oh, that's amazing.
That is
So, are you
amazing.
always in anorexia? Is it kind of like alcoholism?
Well, I was
Are you
anorexic
always-
and bulimic and compulsive overeater, and and orthorexic, and I was everything. And I lost my abstinence once and then got it back, and then yeah, I don't know. I feel like I've had them all. I've had them all. And even my recovery has taken its own journey. It wasn't like I'm just going to stop and I'm not going to eat this and I'm going to, it's like I gave up throwing up and then I became a vegan. I gave up.
You went from one extreme to the other.
I gave up veganism and then I became like, I only ate live food. I was like, I was like, but it was all about not throwing up. And then eventually, bring out the fried chicken and the pizza. I'm good.
Yeah.
Like,
You're
let's
probably
hang
trying
out,
to see what worked for you at that point,
Well,
right?
you
I
know,
mean,
it's
you
like
didn't
you
know.
still-
You'd never had a healthy relationship with food. So how do you know if you
Well-
don't try everything, right? At that point.
No, it was also like, it was more like a control thing. It was not about the food. Like it just
Back to
wasn't
the
about
control. Yeah.
It was all about control.
And you think that control started from the trauma as a child?
Yes. It started from being food insecure.
Huh.
It started from, being raped. It started from like feeling abandoned. It started from neglect, emotional, physical. Like it started with a lot
Yeah.
of my traumas and not having any space or resources to seek help. Right? Because a lot of times people will be like, oh, you should go to a therapist. You should go get some help with that.
And what do you say to the people who are too
Right.
shy to go get help in group situations?
You gotta, when I first started therapy, I went to a place that was, I went to the Southern California Counseling Center.
Me too. I'm Pico. SCC. Oh my God, we were probably there at the
I
same
feel so
time.
left
I paid
out.
12. Yeah, I paid $12, and I had two different therapists there.
I
my
paid
God.
$20. No, I paid $10 for 2 sessions a week. Like I was like,
I paid 12. So there
I
we
did
go.
have a DUI once, and I had to go for that, but not to the same place. There.
Oh, wow.
I'll give you
There
something.
you go.
Anyway, yeah, I mean, I was going to ask the same thing, like Dina was saying. What if there's a child listening, that's like 13 or 14 and hit this age, and they're scared to reach out? Are those hotlines the best
those
method? I
hotlines
mean,
are
what
the
do you
best.
think?
Those hotlines are the best. Those, like I said, NIDA, ANAD has like coaching. They give you one-on-one peer mentoring. Like there's a lot of resources out there now. More
And
so.
sorry, but as a mom, what is the verbiage, the healthiest verbiage when you're because parents, moms, dads, step parents, everyone wants to help, and they think they're doing their best, right? And so sometimes they're like, oh, this is healthy, you should try this, and it actually probably sometimes, I don't know, makes it worse for some kids or whatever. So what is the verbiage that they should stay away from, that is to where whether it's your experience or in your experience?
So I try and tell parents a few things. One, don't ever check anyone else's body, even your kids. Like, don't comment on people's bodies. Don't comment on your kid's body, pro or con.
Oh, okay.
That makes
so
you
not
look
like,
fat.
oh, you look so good.
No, not that. You could say you look good, but oh my God, you're so skinny. Oh my God, like you look like, oh my God, look at your legs, like that kind of thing. No, stop.
That is
Fathers,
messed me
don't
up.
comment on your daughter's bodies, right? Don't comment on oh, you need to lose some weight. Oh, you better be careful about eating that, like that kind of behavior. Mothers who body check themselves are constantly on a diet or a fast. Like your kids, you are your children's first superhero. They are taking all their copious notes from you, right? You're like way up on a pedestal, and then you start going, oh, I'm yeah, I gotta get like, and your kid's like, oh, maybe there's something wrong with me, right? That's how it starts. I'm not now. You could have two kids, and one kid is like, you're crazy, whatever. And the other kid is like taking copious notes and going to have some kind of disorder. You just don't know what you're dealing with when it comes to kids.
I mean, in California, growing up, in my experience, it wasn't ever about how you were. It was about how you look, right? So it's like, it doesn't matter how you feel, it's how you look. And also, most of my friends' moms or stuff would be like, not how are you? They'd be like, so how's your diet? Which literally traumatized me until this day. Always the Beverly Hills
you grew up
ladies.
out down in the conservative beach. That's a little different.
Well, and then I went from there to being friends with girls in Beverly Hills, and then their moms always commenting. But I also grew up with a father who was over 400 pounds. He would be eating sausage and pepper, but he would be making me do aerobics, and it was always so confusing. And not until I was in my 30s. My friend Cameron literally was over and he goes, you girls need to do squats. And he's eating again. And he's like, do them like this. And he's telling us, not showing us. And as we're doing them, Cameron looks at me and she goes, Dina, stop it right now. And she goes, fuck you, Bob. Fuck you and your sausage and pepper sandwich. Fuck you, Dina, stop it right now. That was the first time in my life someone ever spoke up for me and made me realize that it wasn't healthy. And I was in my 30s. And so for me, I was only as good as the number on the scale. And that's what really used to mess me up, right? And so it was like I would go on the scale like 10 times a day. And my day depended on whether it was going to be bad or good, depending on the number on the scale.
Yeah, I don't go on scales. It's funny, I was at the doctor 2 weeks ago, and there was a new nurse. And I go, oh, yeah, I don't get on that one. So then we go in another room and she goes, this is a better one. And I said, oh no, sweetie, I don't get on anybody's scale. I don't do scale.
I love it. Yeah.
Is it a trigger? Is it a trigger?
I don't know. I just don't, it makes no sense to me. Like, why does anyone need to know what I weigh? I'm clearly like a normal size. Like, leave me like, I don't know that there's any size where I need to go on a scale. Like if I was obese or morbidly, I would know. And I would know. I don't need to go on a scale to know, oh, I'm wearing this size clothes. Like,
I think they do it just to keep a baseline measurement.
No, I know why.
Like, I'll do it at the doctor, but I don't do it in my house. No, I won't.
Oh, you don't?
No, I've never. I'm like you, Stephanie. I was like, that means nothing to me. I can tell if my clothes fit or not. I can tell if I feel good or not. I don't need a number to tell me that. But I
don't do it at the doctor. I don't do it. I won't go on a scale at any doctor. They already know.
That's
like
funny.
Joe Lasco, she's not gonna. And and it's so weird because they're always like, but you look so. I go, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I don't go on.
Yeah.
But they always start commenting like, and I go, I don't go on the scale. I don't care what I look like.
Yep.
I don't go on the scale.
Like it's something you're worried about. Like you're like, I know I look good. You've been past that phase of your life. You don't want numbers around that anymore. I can imagine.
because the numbers all mean something. Like, am I muscular? Am I who cares? It's
Yeah, I get
Yeah.
that.
Well, my new inspiration on this scale that I got is it tells you your skeletal, your body protein, whatever. I'm just looking on the bottom where it tells you your body type, and it says good body type. I'm just looking for that, and it's already in there, but I want the great body type. But still, like I'm shifting and I'm learning, and I'm so it's not so much about the number; it's just more about. And
girl, that would be in the garbage. That I'd be like, no.
Yeah, I've tried. It doesn't. I gained 60 pounds when I didn't have the scale, and I did that whole
Yeah,
thing.
I mean,
That's just me.
No, but everybody is different. I know people who are like,
Mhm.
I have to go on a scale once a week because I have to really monitor myself.
Yeah, me too. Because I can very easily go over the edge.
Yeah, they're like, it's easy to like ignore or to be in denial.
Totally. So I guess what I wanted to ask is, what would be a subtle change and a profound impact when it comes to eating or shifting or knowing with young ladies or people who are listening, knowing they need to get help? What would be the subtle way for them to just start? Is it something you start saying to yourself? Do you check yourself? Do you go in and call it a line?
Well, it depends, right? If you have disordered eating instead of eating disorder, that means you're on the way to an eating disorder, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
So what does disordered eating mean?
disordered eating is like yo-yo dieting. It's quite a few different things.
Okay.
But it's
No, I'd
not
never heard
an
that
eating
before.
disorder. Well, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, most Americans have disordered eating, right? They're binging. They throw up occasionally. They diet like occasionally, but it hasn't gone over the edge.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. And so the subtle change for someone who had disordered eating to catch it before it gets to an eating disorder,
Yes.
what would that maybe be?
Get help. Get help. Therapy, meditation, journal. There's a lot, there's just a lot of resources and help. And part of it is you can't recover by yourself. You can't recover in a vacuum, right? You need community, because the one thing that an eating disorder does is isolate you. And the one way to recover yourself is with community.
Right, and
Yeah,
what
but you feel so
what I'm
exposed.
learning from what you've said too is it's not about worrying about the way you look. It's about underlying trauma that hasn't been resolved, and if you don't get to the crux of that, none of it is going to take care of itself. You
Oh
have
yeah,
to
because a
get
lot
to
of people
that.
think that an eating disorder is just like the pursuit of thinness. For me, it
Right.
wasn't about being thin. It was
Exactly.
about like just like quelling the voices in my head and the shame and the sense being a burden and just shoving down all of those things that I had never really acknowledged and dealt with. I may
Yeah.
have acknowledged it, but I never got help for it. And it's like, once you get yourself the help, then you're not eating to avoid some emotional response or feeling.
There we go.
You're
Right.
eating,
Then-
like
you
I'm
use
a
the word
foodie.
control so many times, and it's like I can imagine as a child and you've got a chaotic lifestyle around you, you want kids to know that, like, no, that's what you need to learn how to deal with, right? Is your feelings on that and how to regain a sense of control without it being around food or a substance or some sort of
Yeah.
harmful behavior.
Absolutely. When I wrote my book, I wrote it because I felt like if one person could be helped by this story, then,
I love that. And we'll have a link to your book in the show notes too, in the episode notes for people to go look.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And I learned so much. And, well, now everyone knows my secrets. So there we go.
Yeah.
You know what? The majority of people have issues with food. It's just being gentle with yourself
Yeah.
and not comparing yourself to others, right? We
Yeah.
all have different bodies. We all we all use food for different reasons. We all have different levels of trauma. We like,
Well, and we're all a little scarred because, if I may say so, and I may get a lot of backlash for this, but it is taking me some time to adjust when I'm able to see full-figured, beautiful women on like E or on TV, and I'm like, wait, what? Because our culture was so toxic, nothing tastes as good as skinny feels, right? So like, you were only as good as, you know, the number on the scale. So is my brain so messed up that I'm like, wait, I'm supposed to be seeing a thin person. Why are they there? Like, there's a lot of us who have to unlearn what we were told was beautiful or was acceptable or was, and now I'm seeing a bunch of people get opportunities. Maybe I'm just a little jealous, because when I was acting, it was always about the scale, my weight. It was always about my weight. And now I'm like, damn, you're so lucky. They're not bothering you about your weight. Like, that's amazing. But it's still hard for my brain it's not to accept it, but to get, I guess, familiar and normalized and all of that with it. And it's because we went almost our whole lives without seeing all different body types on a screen.
Well, and it's so weird, because when you think about it, it's like, should we all be the same size? Isn't that a little weird that like we all like, for us to be like, that's beautiful, and then like, what's that? Like, because it's the same as like, if only white people were beautiful, if only like, it's
Exactly.
like beauty standards needed to open up, because we were literally killing ourselves to all fit like some version of Barbie.
Yes, totally.
And now it's like, it makes me so happy when I see a woman and I'm like, you go, like, yes,
totally.
Like, yes,
Lizzo, I love watching Lizzo going, yes, like, hello, like, oh, girl, she is feeling it, and I love it.
It doesn't even mean that you're there no matter what size you are, right? We're still all works in progress.
Well, thank you, Stephanie, so much, seriously, for coming on.
Welcome,
I mean, that's
ladies.
just, thank you for being vulnerable and sharing your story again and again. I know you tell it frequently, but I'm sure every time it's a little bit of like, open up your heart, you know, to different people.
So helpful. Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you,
Okay.
Stephanie. So nice to meet you.
Yeah.